Awakening. Former generals Kara and Magnus refused to give in to the Overlord's attempts to persuade them to join him. But Mikhail was easily convinced. The Overlord offered him an artifact called the Book of the Damned, which could be used to trade one's soul for the ability to bring anyone back from the dead, even those whose souls had been taken. He promised Mikhail that if he used it to return Tiberium Zoltar and his demons, he could then use it to return his dead mother. The Overlord even promised to provide the needed materials, including a refreshed body. Mikhail agreed and went about setting up the ritual. The Overlord projected images of what Mikhail was doing with a strong psychic pulse. Images of him feeding the book thousands of souls on a planet, murdering countless innocents with poisons, made their way to Dacheldor and the others. Bylon tried to warn Dacheldor it was a trap, but he could not be dissuaded from going. Nicole accompanied him. By the time Dacheldor and Nicole landed on the planet, all of the bodies of the dead were rising. Their physical forms transformed into those of the demons Dacheldor had fought over the years. One in particular taking the form of Tiberium Zoltar, another, Malik. Dacheldor yelled to Mikhail, asking what he thought he was doing, but Mikhail simply walked to a lined casket and chanted another ritual. He put his all into it, his very soul. It would not kill him, but had other implications. He longed to see his mother and trusted her body was in the casket. It was not. A scream echoed from the casket that was unfamiliar to Mikhail, but familiar to Dacheldor. Mikhail threw open the lid, horrified by what he saw. He had not revived his mother. He had revived Daisy, still in her pain-filled state from which she had begged Dacheldor for death. Mikhail's mind whirled as his soul fully left him. He was driven completely mad by it and charged his father. Acting instinctively and out of rage himself, Dacheldor struck Mikhail through the heart with the demon edge, but Mikhail was no longer immortal. The soulless cannot live forever. He died upon his father's sword. Dacheldor's mind broke. He screamed, and electricity ripped through his body and out through the planet. His old rage and hatred, his fear of being alone, all of the worst of him came out. He tore through the demons, obliterating them and eating their souls. He killed Malik and ripped out his heart. He slaughtered Tiberium Zoltar and dashed his brains across the rocks. For a moment he lost every single inkling of who he was. Nicole stood and watched, unsure what to do. The Overlord descended from the sky and picked up the Book of the Damned. Nicole fired her guns at him, but the bullets bounced off his armor. He laughed as he turned to the final page. Dacheldor was now full of the souls of the risen. The Overlord spoke the final incantation, and Dacheldor felt pain shoot through his body. He dropped to one knee, and his senses returned. "Dacheldor," the Overlord said, calmly closing the book. "Tell me again who gave you that immortality. Was it all these demons?" He stepped forward and cut Dacheldor's face with a sharp knife, then stepped back. The wound did not heal. Dacheldor's immortality was gone. Nicole was in shock. She fired again at the Overlord, but he simply lifted the book and flames sprouted from his hands, catching it on fire. She tried to get it from him, but the book burned to ash. "You are mortal now, forevermore." Dacheldor was motionless on the ground, on his knees, eyes wide. Daisy screamed from the casket in pain. Nicole shot Daisy in the head. Dacheldor breathed out slowly, his wits returning again. He looked at Nicole and saw someone who had survived traumas rivaling his own and become strong and loving. What she did now was for him and for Daisy, to put her to rest. He had spent his life in two worlds, one ruled by fear, the other ruled by passion and love. He could die now. This was possibly the end. He did not want to spend his last moments in fear. He closed his eyes and accepted everything he had ever done. The wrong, the right, all of it. Even if it had been manipulated, the decisions were what made him who he was. Right now, he chose to accept the horror, stand up, and choose love anyway. He would fight for the future of his daughter's cosmos. The Overlord walked calmly over, expecting to make an easy final blow, but as Dacheldor's eyes opened, a new light shined behind them. His every move now put his life on the line. This fight finally meant something. Their blades clashed and a shower of sparks exploded outward. The Overlord was surprised by the change. This had not been part of his plan. Nicole smiled. The father she loved was back. She ran in and assisted him in battle. As Dacheldor fought, he felt an otherworldly hand guiding some of his strikes. A voice echoed in his head saying, "It's okay. We'll be together soon." It was Daisy. He tried to ignore this at first, knowing that when he died, his soul would become a part of the ancient he was, never having an afterlife. Instead, reincarnating in a new body. Then he remembered. Daisy knew that about him. There was something else to her meaning. Again he felt guided by an otherworldly hand. Light shrouded him and he struck the Overlord. The strikes reverberated through his armor and it shattered, leaving the Overlord open to attack. Nicole shot him in the chest, and he flew back several feet. The Overlord's 5 best warriors suddenly dropped from the sky, moving to shield him. Then, as one, they lifted off and retreated. Dacheldor looked at his hands, unsure where the light had come from. Then he heard Daisy's voice again. "Very good. So glad you can finally hear me." An image appeared to him, almost holographic, but Nicole could see it too. It was Daisy, but she had majestic angel wings and a peaceful smile. "Trust the first night," she said. "Trust Bylon. We will be together soon." Daisy vanished, leaving Dacheldor and Nicole to return to the secret facility. Once back, Dacheldor asked Bylon to explain what had happened. He explained that not only ancients are reborn when they die. He knew well Dacheldor's love for Daisy, and had brokered a deal for her with the angels. Upon her death, she was born again in the body of an angel, given a second chance, but the angels did not trust Dacheldor because of their past history. They said that he would only be able to see and hear her if he opened his heart and gave up fear. Now that he had done that, she could come to Limbo and see him again. Dacheldor asked about Daisy in the casket, and Bylon informed him of the book's ability to revive even the soulless. Though Daisy's soul was now in the body of an angel, a new one had been placed in that body, one stolen from his son. Dacheldor gasped at the thought of having killed his own son. Bylon placed a hand on his shoulder, understanding the need to grieve. Nicole hugged him tightly, and Darkfire stood by. Then Darkfire asked Bylon how much more he knew was destined to happen.
"None,"
Bylon admitted.
"This is as far as I've ever gotten. Everything from here is unknown to me. But I believe the power Dacheldor is about to unlock will turn the tide of this war. And there is still one other warrior I plan to add to our ranks."
The birth of a new warrior. Several days after the death of Mikhail, a majestic starship arrived at the facility. A single passenger was on board, a tall, beautiful angel named Daisy. In the years after her death as a human, Daisy had grown into a strong warrior angel. She battled demon hordes and fought to save the lives of the less fortunate. She showed many other angels that protecting the innocent comes above their own protection. She fought to make the cosmos a better place. Now she stood face to face with her beloved, finally permitted to see him, feeling the love emanating from his heart. "You chose love," she said, and they embraced. After catching up, Daisy informed Dacheldor that, with her guidance, she could teach him to emanate the same light that had destroyed the Overlord's armor. It was actually a light that came from his own connection to the ancient part of him. The ancient was naturally more loving, and by tapping into that aspect of letting go of fear, he could unite more completely with that power. This was why Bylon had chosen an ancient. He knew this ability was key to defeating the Overlord. Only an ancient of this power, who'd been through so much darkness and still chosen love, could possibly succeed. Dacheldor resigned himself to the training, and spent the next few months learning to get in touch with his true self. To speed this training, Bylon used his manipulation of time to cause time to move at a different pace within the facility. Months of training would happen inside, while only a few days passed outside. While Dacheldor trained with Daisy, Bylon trained with Darkfire and Nicole, teaching them both some minor manipulation of temporal energies. They also strategized about the specific strengths and weaknesses of their opponents. Upon the completion of their training, Dacheldor, Darkfire, Bylon, Nicole, and Daisy boarded the majestic ship and headed toward the currently waging war, intending to end it. When they arrived, they used their powers to decimate the majority of the armies and vehicles until the Overlord and his armored warriors arrived. The Overlord's armor was fixed, and this time there were 8 instead of 7 warriors. Standing next to Dark Destructor, in matching liquid metal armor, Shakarok stood ready to fight. Seeing his companion's stunned looks, he explained that Dark Destructor and he finally decided to team up. As their energy clashed, they had felt more and more like one being, until they became 2 beings of the same mind. Bylon strode forward and challenged Shakarok. Darkfire stepped forward to challenge Dark Destructor. They did so with a known purpose in mind. Nicole and Daisy held off the others, while Dacheldor moved into battle with each warrior one at a time, striking their armor and shattering it to pieces. The Overlord backed away from this fight, disappearing before its end. He had no intention of risking everything on this one fight. Darkfire and Dark Destructor waged an incredible battle. Sword strikes and blasts of dark flame echoed through the battlefield. Bylon's fight with Shakarok was of a similar nature, golden weapons striking flaming blades. In the end, Bylon beheaded Shakarok with precision at the exact moment Darkfire beheaded Dark Destructor. The 2 beings, normally immortal, exploded, and their essence pulled together between them. As it did, the bodies of the dead around it pulled together and surrounded the energy, transforming into a tall, corpse-like being. It slowly turned black, eyes glowing, hair flaming. The original being that had called itself the Shakarok was back. Years ago, after the Shakarok's defeat at the hands of Dacheldor, he had found himself trapped in a land of spirits called the Soul Stream. His power split into two other beings, he could not revive himself and was forced to live a ghastly existence. Now, reunited with his energy, he claimed his body again. His return marked the final end of those two beings who had once called themselves Shakarok and Dark Destructor. His time in the Soul Stream had endowed him with the wisdom and skill of every warrior to have ever died. He was a master on the battlefield, far beyond his former capabilities. He attacked Bylon and Darkfire, beating them both easily, then attacked the Overlord's former companions, forcing them to fall back. Dacheldor wondered what kind of monster they had unleashed. Bylon placed a hand on Dacheldor and said,
"That's the warrior I was talking about, the one we need to add to our ranks. Go recruit him."
Dacheldor was unsure what Bylon expected. He could only assume the Shakarok would hate him for what he did. He walked up to the Shakarok and offered him a truce. The Shakarok felt the emanation of the ancient within Dacheldor. He now resonated that power so potently the Shakarok could not help but feel it. He bent on one knee.
"I'm so sorry, Master. If I had known it was you all those years ago, I would never have fought."
"Master?" Dacheldor was confused, but he read the Shakarok's thoughts and learned suddenly that his own ancient within had been the Shakarok's creator. "I also was unaware," he said. "You are forgiven." The Shakarok rose and turned to fight beside Dacheldor and the others.
"Shall we finish them, Master?"
With hardly a chance, the 5 greatest warriors of the Overlord fell. Clash of the Silver Star. Dacheldor, Daisy, Nicole, Darkfire, Bylon, and the Shakarok traveled to the site of the debris that was once Castle Darkfire. There they found the Overlord transforming the debris into a massive suit of armor larger than a planet. He controlled it from its center and attacked the 6 of them. Dacheldor, Daisy, and Nicole formed a team. Nicole would move into a position and fire her weapons to attract the Overlord's attention. Dacheldor would take the advantage and strike the armored suit, busting a hole in it. Daisy would move in and strike with searing light, melting the hole so the armor could not reform. Slowly but surely, they destroyed the suit. Meanwhile, the Shakarok and Bylon took on the remains of the Overlord's armies, which he had brought for more support. Together, they decimated the army in short work before returning to the fight. Darkfire took a position directly in front of the Overlord, challenging him and drawing his ire. It was his stand against his father that kept the Overlord from realizing what Dacheldor, Daisy, and Nicole were up to. When the suit was destroyed and the army decimated, the 6 stood together against the Overlord. Dark One, the Grim Reaper, also appeared, overlooking the battle. This indicated to everyone that someone important was about to die, but was it Dacheldor or the Overlord? The Overlord pulled in energy from the surrounding realm, transforming his body into glowing light. He battled the 6 by himself and nearly defeated them all, but he was ultimately defeated by the teamwork of the 6. This teamwork was only possible through use of Darkfire and Dacheldor's telepathic ability to speak to the team. They formed the perfect combination of attacks to move the Overlord into Dacheldor's strikes, while keeping Dacheldor out of harm. When the final strike came, Dacheldor broke the Overlord's armor, Darkfire beheaded him, and the whole team fired their strongest energy attacks into his neck. The Overlord's body overloaded and he exploded into stardust. Along with him, the last remnants of his realm in Limbo were destroyed. Darkfire and Bylon resigned themselves to rebuild the Limbo Imperial military, but Dacheldor did not join them. His time working for the Empire was over. He bid them each farewell, and they parted ways peacefully. Nicole decided to stay with the 2 brothers, taking her father's place as the new head general. The Shakarok went his own way, looking to start a new life as a mercenary. Dacheldor and Daisy left for the heavens, where Dacheldor was finally accepted, begrudgingly, by all the angels. He did not join their ranks or work to assist them, but stayed to live out the rest of his life with Daisy. They had a son, Derek, who grew to join the angels and stand against demons in many realms. When Dacheldor finally died of old age, he died happily. He had chosen not to control his aging any longer and lived out his last days in peace. His soul became one with the ancient self upon death, allowing a new incarnation to be born.